Hi everyone, this is Raja from Charger Games and welcome back to this video. So in this video we're going to build a cool 3D game with Unity, and this is going to be a coin collecting game where you can control a ball and collect the coins and win the game. So this is going to be a very simple game, but while building this game you're going to be learning a lot of different concepts. So before we get started, let's take a look at what I'm going to be building by playing the game. So as you can see, when I click on play, so here I have the ball and here we have the coins. So I can move the ball and collect the coins. So whenever you collide with a coin, the coin disappears and your score increments. And when you collect all the coins, you can actually win the game. So currently, as you can see, it's very hard to collect the coins. So collecting the first coin, collecting the second coin. And this way I can go ahead and start collecting all the coins. And if the ball falls down, automatically the game will be over. So I need to be a little bit conscious while playing this. So I was just going to get game over. So here I have only one coin left as of now. So let's go and collect this coin. And whenever I collect this coin, as you can see, you win is getting printed. So this is the whole game, and this is how we can win the game. And in the middle of the game, whenever you fall down, let me demonstrate that. Whenever you fall down, as you can see, the ball falls down. And as soon as the ball falls down, automatically the game gets restarted and you can start playing it again. So this is how the game looks like. And as you can see, the camera follows the ball automatically wherever I go. Wherever I go, the camera automatically looks at the ball, and all of these things we're going to build from scratch. So I hope you are really excited to build this game. So let's get started. Alright, so here I have opened up a 3D empty new Unity project, and this is how it looks like by default. And if you cannot see this layout, you can go to the top right corner. From that layout, select 2x3 layout, and then you will be good to go. So now that you are in this layout, simply go to the game scene. From the free aspect, select this 1920 by 1080 or this full HD 1920 by 1080, and now it will be good to go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the scene. So first of all, as you can see here, I have a scenes folder created already, and if you don't have that, you can simply right click, create a new folder and create a new scenes folder. And inside the scenes folder, I'm going to simply go ahead and save the scene by pressing Ctrl S. And as you can see, inside the scenes folder, I'm going to save the scene and I'm going to name this one game. You are free to name it anything that you want to. So this is our default and main scene, and this is the game scene. Okay. Now I'm going to select the main camera, and from the clear flags, let's select a solid color. And for the solid color, I'm going to choose a little bit whitish color. And if you want, you can also select a different color because it's your own game. So you are free to choose any color that you prefer. All right. So once that's done, now it's time to create our platform and our player. So let's go ahead and do that. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and create a new 3D object, and I'm going to create a new 3D plane. And as you can see here, we have our default plane, and I'm going to name this one ground. If you want, you can also name it something else as well. Now we need to create some materials. All right. So let's go to the assets folder. And as you can see, I already have a materials folder created. And if you want, you can simply right click, create a new folder and rename it materials. So inside the materials folder, I'm going to right click, create a new material, and I'm going to name this one mat space 1 because this is going to be our material 1. Now I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it a couple of times so that we automatically create mat 2, mat 3 and like this. So press Ctrl D to duplicate, or you can right click and duplicate it from here as well, copy and paste or duplicate. I'm just simply pressing Ctrl D to duplicate it. Okay, so here is our mat 1. So for this, let's select a yellowish color, something like this, because this is going to be our ground. So let's go and drag and drop this mat 1 over our ground like this. So as you can see, this is going to be our ground color. And if you don't like this color, you can simply go to this albedo and create or select a different color, whatever you prefer. So because it's your own game, so you can give any color that you want to. All right. So once that's done, I'm going to select the ground, and now I'm going to create our player. So I'm going to go to here, click on 3D object, create a new sphere. And this sphere will be our player. And as you can see, I am dragging my mouse wheel or rotating my mouse wheel to zoom in and zoom out of the scene. So you can do that simply by rotating your mouse wheel. And you can press the Alt key on your keyboard and then press the left mouse button to rotate the view like this. So Alt left mouse button, and like this you can rotate the view. So currently, as you can see, this blue line, this is our z-axis, and whenever you are playing the game, the z-axis should be at the front. Currently, as you can see, it is at the back side, so I'm going to rotate the view so that the z-axis is going to be at the front, because our camera is always at the back and our z should be the forward axis pointing towards the forward direction. So that is why I'm rotating my view to make it look something like this, and this is how the view should look like in the scene. Alright, so this is our sphere, and as you can see, by default x, y and z values are 1, so I'm gonna move it a little bit upwards by clicking on this green handle. So this is how our ball looks like, and let's select this matte 2, and from the albedo let's select a red light color, something like this, and then I'm gonna drag and drop this matte 2 over this ball, and this is going to be the color of the ball for now. Later on you can change it, of course, but for now I think this is the color that I'm gonna give to my ball. Alright, so once that's done, now I'm gonna go ahead and make the ball rename to ball. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to select the ground and make it bigger, because we need a bigger play area. So I'm going to select the ground and change the X scale to 5 and change the Z scale to 5 as well. Alright, so this is how our ground looks like, and also I'm going to select the ball and make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to change the X scale to 2, Y scale to 2 and Z scale to 2 as well. Now it's a little bit bigger. I'm going to move it a little bit upwards, somewhat like this. Okay, so this is where our ball is and this is where our ground is. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to add a rigid body property to the ball, and whenever we add a rigid body property, the ball will automatically be part of the Unity's physics engine. Okay, so I'm going to go here, go to add component, physics, and we're going to add a rigid body component. And now as you can see, the rigid body has a gravity, so that is why the ball will fall down automatically. So let's go and move the ball a little bit upwards. Let's click on play, and whenever I click on play, automatically the ball falls down, because now the ball is part of Unity's physics engine because it has a rigid body component attached to it. Alright, so once we have this, now it's time to move our ball by controlling our ball. So now we're going to control our ball by pressing the left and right, up and down arrow keys on our keyboard. And for that, we need to write some code. So let's go and start writing our code. So here, as you can see, I have a scripts folder. Inside the scripts folder, I'm going to create a new C# script, and I'm going to name this one player controller. So once you have done that, simply click your ball or player and drag and drop your player controller right over it. So now as you can see, our ball has this player controller attached. So let's double click to open it up in Visual Studio and start writing our code. Alright, so here we have our player controller script opened in Visual Studio. So let's go and start writing our code. Okay, so first of all, what we need is we need few references. First of all, we need a variable public float speed, and this will decide by how much speed our ball will move up and down, left and right. I mean the front and back and left and right. Next, we need a reference to the rigid body that we have attached to the ball. So for that, we're going to write rigid body RB. And then we need references or two variables where we can store our inputs. For that, we're going to create two new variables. One will be float X input and another one will be float Y input. Okay, so these two variables will store how much input we are getting from the up and down arrow keys and left and right arrow keys, and depending on that, we're gonna move our ball or our player. Okay, so now here inside the awake function, we're gonna get access to the rigid body that we have already got. So I'm gonna write RB equals get component rigid body, get component rigid body. Okay, so what this will do is this will give us access to the rigid body component that we have attached to the ball inside this RB variable. So now whatever we want to do to the rigid body, let's say we want to add force, we want to move it, we want to rotate it, we want to add some velocity, we want to do any physics functions, we can do it directly just by using this RB variable. Alright, so once that's done, now it's time to move our ball. So I think we don't need these two functions for now. Let's leave the start function, and in this case you can use update function, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use something called fixed update. Fixed update is mainly used for physics properties whenever you're using physics functions, but it also gives us some smooth movements because fixed update is called after fixed amount of time. So that is why it's going to give us smoother movements compared to update. So that is why we're going to use fixed update in this case instead of update. So here we're going to write void fixed update, and this is the function where we're going to add all our code. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, first of all, we need to get input inside this x input and y input variable. So for the x input, we're going to write x input equals input dot get access, and within bracket, within quotations, h is capital, horizontal, exactly as I have written. You need to write it like this. Okay. So this horizontal axis is a default axis set by Unity's input system, which will give us input from the left and right arrow keys. Okay. The same way we're going to write y input equals input dot get access, and within quotations, vertical with a V capital, exactly like this. So the same way, this vertical will give us input from the up and down arrow keys from our keyboard. Okay, so the left and right arrow keys input will be stored inside X input, and the up and down arrow keys input will be stored inside Y input. Okay, so this way we will get the X input and Y input both, and now using these inputs we need to move our ball. And to move our ball, we're going to use a function called add force. Add force is a physics function which will add force to the ball, and by adding a force we can actually move the ball left and right, front and back. Okay, to do that we're going to write RB, which is our rigid body, dot add force, and now inside this function we can actually mention how much force we want to add in the x-axis, how much force we want to add in the y-axis, and how much we want to add to the z-axis. Now in this case we want to move our ball only to the left and right and front and back. So left and right is x-axis and front and back is our forward or z-axis, and we don't want to move our ball up and down, which is our y-axis, so our y value will be 0, but we will only add value to the x and z axis. So for that, first of all, for the x-axis we're going to write x input multiplied by speed, and for the y we're going to put 0, and for the z we're going to write y input multiply speed. All right, so this way we are getting the inputs and we are putting the speed, we are multiplying it with speed, and then we are adding the force to our rigid body, and this way our ball will move to the left and right, up and down, not up and down, forward and backward. Okay, so once we have done this, now another thing we should do is whenever our ball actually falls down off the platform, we need to actually reload the scene. Okay, so let's do that. Now in order to reload the scene, here we need to use something called using Unity engine dot scene management. So this scene management namespace will help us to write all the code required to manage different scenes or load different levels. Okay, so inside the update we're going to write if transform dot position dot y is less than -5f. So that means whenever the position of our ball is less than -5, whenever it goes down, that is when we want to actually reload the scene or reload the level so that the player can play it again. So for that we can write scene manager dot load scene, and here within quotations we're going to write the name of the scene, which is game. So whenever our ball falls down, and then we want to reload the scene, otherwise we want to simply control the ball left and right, forward and backward by simply pressing the up and down, left and right arrow keys, or by pressing WASD keys. So now we have written all the necessary code for the player controller. So let's go and save this code and go back to Unity to see how this is working. Alright, so we are back inside Unity. Here we have the ball, and as you can see here we have the player controller script, and it is asking for a speed value. So for now let's give a speed value of 8. So this is the speed by which the ball will move. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on play to see how we can control the ball. So let's click on play, 3, 2, 1 play. And now as you can see the ball falls down, and if I press the arrow keys the WASD keys or the arrow keys, I can actually move the ball front and back and left and right. Currently you can see the game only in the scene view and not in the game view currently because our camera hasn't been set up correctly, but later on we're going to set it up. But for now, as you can see, we can actually control the ball pretty nice, and we can actually move the ball to whatever direction we want it to move. And now whenever the ball falls down, let's try it. Whenever the ball falls down, you will see automatically the scene gets reloaded. So let's try it one more time. The ball falls down to the left. Let's fall it down, and automatically the scene gets reloaded, as you can see. So this looks pretty cool for now. So our player is ready. So another thing we're going to do is, as you can see here inside the textures folder, I have a simple image where one side is white and another side is red. So this is an image that I'm going to use to give a 2-in-1 color to my ball, but this is completely optional. So you can use it, or you can simply change your ball's color to any other thing. You can also download any other ball model from the asset store. So you can do anything that you want to. So for now, I'm going to simply drag and drop this white and red over this ball. And as you can see, automatically our ball now has got this 2-in-1 color. And now you will see whenever the ball will move, it will look pretty cool. And currently, as you can see, whenever the ball moves, it looks pretty cool because it has a 2-in-1 color. So if you want, you can do it or you can skip it. It's completely optional. Alright, so now that we have our ball ready, now what we can do is we can actually set up our camera and write a camera code which will actually follow the ball wherever it moves around the scene. Okay, so for now, as you can see here, we have our main camera. And this is how the camera view looks in the game. So what I'm going to do is I can actually move the camera backward a little bit and move it to the upward direction somewhere like this. So I think something like this should look good. Now it completely depends on your own perspective and whatever you want to do in your own game. So I think something like this should look good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my scripts folder and create a new C# script, and I'm going to name this one camera controller. You can name it camera controller or simply name it camera script. And then this script will actually control the camera. So now let's select our main camera and drag and drop the camera script over it. Now double click our camera script. And in our camera script, first of all, we'll need a target that our camera will follow. So for that, here we're going to create a public transform game object, and we're going to name this one target. Now this will be our player, and we need to drag and drop our player to the target folder or this target variable so that our camera can always look at the target. And now here inside the fixed update function, so here we're going to create the fixed update function as well. We're going to write transform.lookAt, and this is a function by Unity, and inside this we need to actually give the transform of the object to which we need to look at. For that, we're going to simply write target. Alright, so now whenever the game will run, the camera will constantly look at the target. That means the camera's rotation will automatically change towards the target object, and it will seem like the camera is always looking at the target. Okay, so just by writing this simple code, we can actually make our camera look pretty cool and it will move towards our ball. So this is the code that we need, so I'm going to delete the other things. So let's go and save this, go back to Unity to check how this is working. Alright, so here we have our camera script and it is waiting for a target game object. Now I'm going to drag and drop our ball to the target game object, and now it has a target. So now let's click on play to see how this one is working. So let's click on play. And now as you can see, whenever the ball moves, you will see the camera will automatically rotate itself towards the ball, and it will seem like the camera is always looking at the ball. So just by writing this simple code, as you can see, automatically we have created a camera follow. And as you can see in the scene view, the camera is automatically rotating, as you can see, towards the ball to always point towards the ball's transform. So this is what we have done using the lookAt function. Okay, so now our ball is ready, our camera is also ready. So now we need to create some collectible objects or collectible coins which our ball can collect, and then we can actually win the game. So let's go and let's do that. So now let's go ahead and create the coins. For that, I'm going to right click, create 3D object, and from here I'm going to create a new cylinder game object. And as you can see, here we have the cylinder. Let's rename it to coin. Let's now drag this cylinder and let's double click on the coin to focus on it. Let's move it to some different place, somewhere like this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this scale tool and then click on this green handle and drag it like this to make it look like a coin, something like this. Okay, so now I think it looks like a coin. Now what I'm going to do is now I'm going to select my X scale and change it to 2, and the Z scale should be changing to 2 as well. Okay, the X and Z scale are changed to 2 and the Y scale is small, and now it looks pretty much like a coin. Now the final thing we need to do is we need to rotate it to make it look like actual coin. So to do that, what I'm going to do is, as you can see, this is our X-axis, this red one, and we're going to rotate it around the X-axis by 90. So 90 in the X, and now it looks like a coin. Now if you want to make the game a little bit simpler, what you can do is you can also make the coin bigger so that it becomes easier for the ball to collect the coins. For that, I can make the X value to, let's say, 4 and 4 as well, or you can simply make it 3, not 43, simple 3. I think 3 or 4 should be good, because then it's gonna be pretty good for the player. Otherwise it's gonna be pretty hard for the player to collect the coins. Okay, so now here we have our X to 4. I think 3 is more suitable, so let's make it 3. Okay, so now that we have 3 written to the coin, now the coins are perfect. Now we need to give a color to the coins. So inside the materials folder, as you can see here, we have a matte 1, 2 and 3, and we're going to use the material 3 for the coins. So we're going to select the matte 3, and for the albedo color, let's select a golden like color, something like this. Something like this should look good. And now I'm going to drag and drop this matte 3 over the coin, somewhere like this. And now I'm going to select the metallic property and drag it to make it look, give a more metallic look to the coin, something like this, so that it looks like it's made of gold coin or something like that. So it is optional. If you want, you can do it, or you can simply leave it. Okay, so now I think it looks like a coin, metal coin actually. Okay, so now here we have our coin, and as you can see here we have all the things required. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a tag to the coin so that we can check whenever our ball collides with the coin, we can actually check if the ball has collided with the coin or not. For that, I'm going to select the coin, go to tag, click on add tag, click on plus, and as you can see here, I have a coin tag created already. In your case, if you don't have that, you can simply click on plus, and from here, create a new coin tag. Then select the coin one more time, and from here, click coin. So now we have the coin tag attached to the coin game object. Now the final thing we should do is, as you can see, the coin has this is trigger property in its capsule collider. I'm going to go ahead and check the is trigger. So if we don't have this is trigger, then the ball will collide with the coin. But if we have this is trigger checked, then it will simply work like a trigger and the ball can easily go through the coin. Okay, so once we have done that, now we need to set the coin as a prefab. A prefab is something that we can reuse again and again in the scene. So here we're going to create many coins. So that is why we're going to create this coin as a prefab. Save this coin as a prefab. Okay. So inside my assets folder, I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder. I'm going to call it prefab. Prefab. And inside the prefab folder, I'm going to drag and drop the coin. And as you can see, as soon as I do it, now it becomes blue. That means now it's a prefab. Now I'm going to select the coin and move it a little bit to the bottom, somewhere like this. Okay, so once we have done that, now we need to actually make the coin rotate. So what I can do is I can add a rotate script to the coin. So for that, inside the scripts folder, I'm gonna create a new C# script, and I'm gonna name this one coin script. Coin script or coin controller, anything that you prefer. Okay, so let's open up the coin script. And here inside the fixed update, we need one simple thing, void fixed update. Inside that, we need to write one simple line of code, and that will be transform.rotate, and we need to check around which axis we want to actually rotate. So if you take a look at the coin, we have actually rotated it a little bit. So currently, if you see, this blue line is the z-axis, this red line in the x-axis, and we want to rotate it around the z-axis. Okay, so that is why we're gonna rotate it around the z-axis. Okay, so let's open up the script one more time. Here we have the coin script. Okay, so rotate it on the z-axis. For the x it will be 0, for the y it will be 0, and for the z it will be moving around the z-axis. So here we're going to create another new variable. We'll call it public float rotate speed, and now in the z we're going to write rotate speed. Okay, so now it will rotate around the z-axis by this rotate speed value. Okay, so let's go and save this, go back to Unity. Now let's select the coin and drag and drop the coin script to the coin. Now you need to remember that whenever you are using a prefab, you need to make sure that you are making all the changes to all the prefab objects. So in order to make sure that, you can go to this prefab folder, select the coin, and drag and drop the script to the coin prefab. And whenever you do that, automatically it will be applied to all the prefab objects. Okay, so instead of dragging and dropping it to the coin, you can simply go to the prefab folder, select the coin inside the prefab folder, and drag and drop our script to this prefab coin right here. Now let's give it a rotate speed like, let's say 5, and see how this one is working. So let's click on play, and as you can see, now the coin is rotating and it looks pretty cool for now. Okay, so now our coin is ready. So let's go and create some more coins and move them around the scene. To do that, I'm going to select the coin, and you can simply click on duplicate, then move it to somewhere like this. Then I'm going to press duplicate and put it somewhere like this. Don't push it to the edge, because then it's going to be harder for the player to actually collect the coins. So somewhere like this. Then I'm going to create another one, put it to somewhere like this. Oops, I actually did it wrong. You need to actually put it somewhere like this. And then the final one should be somewhere like, again wrong one, somewhere like this. I think now we are ready. So now we have 5 coins. Let's move this one a little bit to this side. Okay, so now we have 5 different coins around the scene, and now our player can actually collect these coins. Okay, so now as you can see, whenever we go, we can actually move our ball, our camera moves, and we can actually go ahead and collide with these coins. But currently, as you can see, whenever I collide with the coins, nothing happens. Our ball can simply go through the coins and nothing else happens. So now what we need to do is we need to write some code so that whenever our ball collides with the coin disappears, then our score increments, and finally we need to check if we have collided with all the coins and collected all the coins, then we want to show the "you win" text on screen. Alright, so in order to do that, first of all, here we're going to create the "you win" text. Let's go and do that. So here I'm going to go to UI and click on Text Mesh Pro, and then click on Import TMP Essentials to create a new text. Okay, so if you missed the step, UI Text Mesh Pro text. Okay, and if you want to use the old text properties of Unity by simply using the old text properties, then you can go to this Legacy, and from here use the Legacy text, and then you don't need to use this Text Mesh Pro. Okay, so now that here we have our text, we can simply select the text. From here, reset its position so that it comes to the center. Then double click on the canvas, and as you can see here we have our whole canvas. Next, we can go to the 2D mode to better view this UI element. Okay, and now I'm going to select the canvas, change its UI scale mode to scale with screen size, change the reference resolution to 1920 by 1080, because that is what our game's resolution is. Next, we're going to set the match property to 0.5. Okay, so once we have done all these things, now we are ready to write. We need to actually modify our text. Okay, so now let's select our text, and as you can see, this is our text property. Let's change this text to "you win." So capitals U, in capitals U space win. So this will be our text that will be shown, and we're going to rename this text to win text. Win text. Okay, not test, win text. I think I am doing a lot of typing mistakes today. Okay, so now here we have our win text. I can simply zoom inside. Then I'm gonna select this rect tool and then drag it to make it bigger. I can drag the corners to make it even bigger, something like this. Okay, so once I have done that, now I can go ahead and change the font size a little bit. And currently, as you can see, I think we cannot see it here because the color is different. So let's go ahead and add some color so that we can actually see it in the scene. So let's give it a yellowish tint, yellow orange like color, whatever you prefer. Of course, it's your own game. Okay, so this one looks cool for now. Now we're gonna center the text. For that, we're gonna go to the alignment and center it vertically and horizontally both. Okay, now I can simply drag this whole thing and put it to the place where I actually want it to display whenever I win the game. All right, so now you win text. This is the you win text. I can change the font size and make it even bigger. I think something like 150 should be good. I think 150 should be looking good. Next, I'm going to change the font style to bold. If you want, you can also add some other fonts as well, but I'm keeping things very simple here. So now that we have our win text, let's add some more effects to make it look cooler. Now this is completely optional, so you can use it like this, but I'm doing it just for fun. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to select this outline. And from the outline thickness, I can make it a little bit bigger. And for the color, I'm going to give it a yellow orange like color, something like this. And now you will see it looks a lot better. If you want, you can also change the thickness a little bit, something like this. Now, as you can see, without it and with this. Now, as you can see, it looks a lot better than how it was. Okay. So this is our win text. This is our win text and it is ready for now. So by default, this will be deactivated. And whenever we win the game, we want to activate it like this. Okay. So by default, let's go ahead and deactivate it. Okay. So now that we have our win text ready, now all we need to do is we need to go back to the 3D mode. By clicking on this 2D, we need to go to this 3D mode. Then double click on this ground to go back to the ground. And here we have our ground. So now we need to write some code so that whenever the ball collides with the coins, first of all, the coin gets disappeared. Next, our score increases. And in this case, I'm not visually showing the screen. If you want, you can also show the score, but I'm not showing the score visually on the screen because we are simply showing the you win text. So our score will be increased. And whenever our score is more than 5, because as you can see here, we have 5 coins, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whenever our score is more than 5, that means we have actually collected all the coins, then the you win text will be displayed on the screen. All right, so now let's select our ball and open up the player controller one more time. Okay, so here we have our player controller. Now here what we need to do is we need to use a function called onTriggerEnter. So we're going to write void onTriggerEnter and Unity will automatically complete it for us. So as a parameter of this onTriggerEnter, we have a collider other variable. So this other variable will store information about the object with which we have collided, and that is a trigger. Okay, so in this case, we need to check if we have collided with an object which has this tag attached, that is coin. That means we have collided with a coin, and only then we want to do all these things. So for that, first of all, we want to check if other.gameObject.tag equals, within quotations, coin. So if we have collided with a game object which has this coin tag attached, then first of all, we need to deactivate the coin or destroy the coin. In this case, I'm simply going to deactivate the coin. For that, we're going to write other.gameObject.setActive to false. Okay, so whenever we collide with the coin, first of all, deactivate the coin. Next, we need to increment the score. Okay, so in order to increment the score, first of all, let's create a new score variable here. So first of all, here we're going to create a new score variable, int score, and by default it will be 0, of course. And then we're going to create another public int variable, public int win score. So this variable will decide which is our win score and how much the player needs to score in order to win. Okay, so here we're gonna, whenever we are colliding with the coin, we're gonna say score plus plus. That means we are incrementing the value of the score. If the score is 0, it will be 1. If it is 1, it will be 2. Then we need to check if score is greater than equals win score. Okay, so if the win score is 5, that means if the score is equal or greater than 5, then we have won the game. So here we need to write all the things that we need to do whenever the player wins the game. So here we don't need to do much things. Only thing we need to do whenever the player wins the game is that we want to show or display the win text. Okay, so for that, here we're going to create another public variable, public game object win text. So this will actually store a reference to our win text object, which will be deactivated by default, and whenever the player wins the game, we want to activate it. Okay, so here we're going to write win text, not win score, win text dot set active to true. So by default it will be false, and we're going to make it true. So let me go here one more time. So whenever our player collides with another game object which has is trigger checked, if you remember, in our coins collider we have made the is trigger property checked. So that is why this on trigger enter property, on trigger enter function gets automatically called whenever our player collides with the coin. Now here inside the other variable we have all the information about the object with which we have collided. In this case we are checking if we have collided with an object which has this coin tag attached, then we are deactivating the coin, incrementing the score, then we are checking if the score is greater than or equal to our win score, then we are simply displaying the win text on the screen, and that's it. So this is all we needed to do. Now what we need to do is we need to go back to Unity, give a value to the win text, and then we need to set up a reference or give the reference to the win text game object here. Okay, so now let's go and save the code and go back to Unity. Alright, so now we are back to Unity, and as you can see here we have our ball, and here we have our player controller script, and here the win score is 0, but as you can see here we have 5 coins, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that is why we're going to give the win score to 5. And for the win text, we're going to drag and drop our win text right over here, and now we are ready to play the game. Before playing the game, one more thing I can do is I can actually increment the speed value a little bit. Let's make it 10. And then from the drag property, let's give it a little bit of drag so that our ball doesn't move too much. It will get a little bit drag from the air because of the physics properties, and this will give it a good behavior. And you can also make the angular drag 0 if you want to. Okay, so now with that done, now let's go and click on play and see how the behavior is working. So let's click on play. Now we can move the ball and let's try to collect all the coins. And let's try to collect all the coins. So for the first one, we have collected 1 and we have 5 more to go, and the ball is moving pretty fast and it's pretty hard for now. So let's select the second one, let's select the third one, and we have 2 more. Make sure I don't get fall down. So here we have the fourth one. Let's try this one. We have the fourth one, and we have 1 more to go, the final one. Let's see if I can do that, and the final one is done, and you win text is displayed. So I have actually won the game, and I have made it a little bit easier by making the coins bigger, but if they were smaller it would have been a lot harder, and if they were placed on the edges it would have been a lot harder. So this is how the game is working. As you can see, it is fully working, and whenever I fall down from here, our game gets restarted and I can start playing it again. So now as you can see, the game looks pretty cool, and it is completely working game where we can control the player, get the coins moving and all these things. Let's go and test it in the full screen. So I can go and select play maximized, and from here I can click on play, and now I can play the game in the full screen. So now as you can see, it looks pretty cool in the full screen as well. So here I can collect the coins, and our camera automatically follows the ball wherever it goes, and this way I can collect the coins and I can actually win the game. So let's try it again. So, and the final one is here. And this way I have won the game. So I am a master in this game now. Okay, so you can go ahead and build the game and play it by yourself and enjoy or share it with your friends. If you want, you can improve the game by adding a lot more coins. You can make it a little more bit difficult by creating a level. You can create a bigger level, okay, and you can make the coins a little bit smaller or make different types of coins, and this way you can actually improve the game or make it better and make it more fun. So this is it for this video. I hope you really enjoyed and learned a lot of new things by building this small, simple, cool game. So thank you so much for watching. This is Raja from Charger Games, and feel free to reach me if you need any help. And thank you so much, and I'm gonna see you in another video very soon.